Welcome back, everybody, to the World Championship Series Season 1. We just saw our first quarterfinal match wrap up with Hydra overtaking TLO 3-0. We'll see who will go on to face him in the semifinals with their next match. And coming up first, our first player is in the top 8 for the very first time. He is My Insanity's Kane. Now facing Kane is a player who is a 2-time EPS champion looking to prove that he can play just as well on the global stage. It's Team Alternate's ShoWTimE. For our next match, it'll be Canada versus Germany. Players shake hands. Only one of these players will move on to face Hydra in the semifinals. We'll find out who that player will be. But first, let's head back to the desk with the boys.
Cheers, Mix. Game number 2, quarterfinal number 2. Now Kane versus ShoWTimE. This is a close one. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's very difficult to call a clear outcome here. It's very close, you'd say, Roddy.
Yeah, definitely. I have no idea how this one is going to go. Kane has been awesome in CVP in the past, but then also shaky at the same time. I recently casted a show match, even though we played on new maps that he didn't really have a whole lot of experience on. He lost 0-3 against Arium. Now, I love Arium, but ShoWTimE is a better Protoss player than Arium is, so that is definitely not something to look too much into. But then again, those games were bizarre, and I've also seen some awesome games in the past against Hero, for instance. ShoWTimE on the other end, he's getting so much love, so many props from everyone in the European scene.
Yeah.
The very first time I saw him live, finally, that I casted his games was the round of 32 in Burbank. And even though he won his group, I was not blown away. But a lot of people also said, like, ShoWTimE is better than he showed today. So I really don't know what to expect of this series.
Well, here is Kane. It's his debut within the WCS. He's the only player in the top 8 to have his debut and to play for the first time, and he's gone undefeated so far, which is so impressive.
Royal Roader,
anybody? 4-0, a fantastic performance. He was definitely a little bit shaky in the round of 32, but yesterday and throughout this tournament, he's looked great. I mean, he beat Haz, he deflected the bullets. It's like he started in the Matrix, he was Neo, and then Bunny, he looked great last night.
Yeah, he's been looking amazing. And the funny thing is, he went on a big vacation before this. He had a week off, and then he landed literally the day before on the event, actually. And do you think that can help him? Like that little bit of a relaxation time?
I do like what he said though at the end of the first day when after that first series we were just like, you know, I come in here, there's no one that thinks I'm gonna win. So there's no expectations, there's no pressure. Everything I do that's positive is just, it's pure net gain. He has absolutely nothing to lose. If he drops out of this series, no one will be surprised. If he wins, it's like, well, he's legit.
Yeah, he said that yesterday, and he's like, all right, I feel great. I feel comfortable for the round of 8. No one really believes I can do anything, so screw you all, I'm gonna do everything. And he's feeling great, and that's a great mentality to have coming into, I'm going to say this, and we can all say it, the easiest side of this bracket where anyone can get to the final.
No, absolutely. And I also think that both players truly believe that this is an awesome draw for them. Even though Kane might be a little hesitant, like, it's still Protoss, and a good Protoss player is always scary for a Zerg to go up against. Not because it's necessarily imbalanced, but you just don't know what they're going to throw at you. But I absolutely believe that Kane looks at this as well and being like, well, if there's ever a moment for me to make a serious amount of money and make it to a semi-finals of a Premier League tournament, then this is the series.
All right, well, let's focus a little bit on ShoWTimE. Just like Kane, ShoWTimE is at he's reached a peak in his performances. This is the highest and the best result he's had. Of course, he's won the German EPS twice. He's won that. He's a national champion. He actually got to the final 3 times last year, won 2 of them, very successful. But now he's on the bigger stage. He lost versus Hero Marine, bang, bada, boom, boom, boom. And then here, WCS, big opportunity, as we've mentioned, to put his name out there, Rotterdam.
Absolutely. He seems like a very cool guy. Like, I get a little bit of a Hazuops impression from him. I don't know why. I mean, obviously, they're both German Protosses, but he's very calm, very soft-spoken. Seems like a genuine, nice guy. There is nothing, like, explosive about his personality. I've never heard anyone come up to me. He's like, man, have you seen what ShoWTimE did yesterday? Like, he's just like, you know, he's just that guy that's there, that's involved in his community, and is a really good German Protoss player. And I think he's a fun guy to follow.
And we've seen a lot of his progress against Zerg throughout this tournament. We just look back into the round of 16. He played 2 Zergs in there, he played against Pig, and he also played against ShoWTimE. There must be information that we picked up upon, Penna.
Yeah, he played against Snoot there as well. Yeah, so you said ShoWTimE by accident. That's why I was correct in your Apollo.
Mate, I love it when you correct me.
I needed to for the
Go on,
crap
keep
you
going,
gave me
keep
yesterday.
going. Stay focused, Fenner.
No, I'm staying. No.
Stay
All right.
focused, Fenner.
Oh, you want to slap, mate? Anyway, ShoWTimE is a aggressive player on 3 bases. He says he's not predictable and he can do a lot of stuff, but the main style we're seeing from him is this big blink play on 3 bases where he pushes forward, he delays his tech, and he tries to slow down the Zerg economy. He attacks the 4th base, tries to strangle them, limit what they can do, and then what we've seen so far is that the Zerg player tries to sneak out those swarm hosts, and then he gets himself into this awkward situation where he's like, I don't have tech, I don't have Colossus or anything to deal with these swarm hosts, and then he has to force these weird base trade scenarios, go around with Blink Stalkers, harass with War Prisms, all that kind of crazy stuff. And he's actually really, really good at those base trade scenarios.
But it's not just him who's playing like this. I feel like this is just a European trend. Like the French Protoss players, you know, Lilbao and Petit Drogo, they like to call it the French PvZ, but I think it's more than just a French PvZ. It's just a very popular style among the best European Protosses right now. And obviously, like when I looked at it at first, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you going to do against Swarm hosts? And for some reason, they always find a couple that are out of position. But I do totally agree with you that at a certain point, there's suddenly this brick wall, and it's like, okay, no matter how many force fields and Blink Stalkers I have, I'm not going to break this anymore. And then you're forced to transition, and your Colossus tech is very late.
Well, let's take a look at the map order to see exactly how this series should play out and where we're going to go to first. And it's going to be Vani Research Station, Catallena, Overgrowth, Deadwing, and Expedition Lost. Fenner, we can pick up some stuff on this?
Well, first of all, the veto there for Kane, Secret Spring, not a surprise at all. Every Zerg player hates that map. Insta veto on the ladder, and Inferno Pool's a map that a lot of people hate as well. Vani Research Station, a lot of Zerg players like this. Very, very standard, very open, great for the Swarm host play. Easily get concaves on the Protoss army, no surprise there. Catallena, ShoWTimE's pick. What do you think of that, Rodan?
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it's a very straightforward map, and I think, you know, as long as the game stays very standard and he can rely on those Blink Stalkers and Force Fields, like that is a good map for him. Of course, I am always worried about super late game Swarm mode style on Overgrowth, but Kane not really a guy that rushes into Swarm modes or doesn't control the late game Swarm modes composition like someone like Snoot does. But I think, you know, what I'm truly excited about is that the bigger maps where people can truly like run around each other, maybe a cross-map Deadwing, then I think that we are in for a treat. I think we are going to see the most entertaining games possible, because Kane is a guy that loves to counterattack, and you just said it, like ShoWTimE is a guy that loves to just rely on Blink Stalkers. So then you're going to get a very action-packed, high-paced game where Kane is looking for openings and ShoWTimE is defending and attacking at the same time. And I truly hope we at least see a scenario like that once or twice, because we all know that Kane loves his Muta switches as well. Like it's been a while that has been the trend, but if there is a window of opportunity for him to make a big Muta switch and go for a base trade, he's still going to do it.
All right, thanks, Roddy. Nathanius, what is the way to the semi-finals for both of these players? How are they going to get there?
I mean, they both just got to play their A game, right? We talked about how it's very difficult to pick which one you would favor over the other. Kane comes in with the confidence of no one expects me to win, but for ShoWTimE, there's a lot of pride on the line. You know, his German counterpart, TLO, just being eliminated. He can represent Germany moving forward in this bracket, so a bit more pressure on him. And then, of course, well, I guess Kane being the only North American representative, doesn't seem to be sweating that too much. I think in a long series like this, I'd like to see them mix it up a bit, because we see that 3-base play a lot out of ShoWTimE, and Kane, I don't really see him as too cheesy of a player.
All right, well, thank you very much, guys. It's time to begin the second series of the day here, the second quarterfinal. Who's going to the semi-finals to face off against Hydra? Can Kane's dream WCS run continue on, or can we have our first German semi-finalist ever?
All right, let's find out. It's a great opportunity for both of these players now to make a big, big name for themselves. They've already done very well getting into the round of 8, but moving on to the round of 4, guaranteed for one of these players, is going to be huge.
At what point do we stop considering Kane like as an underdog? I feel like every group stage, every match that he goes into, being given way too little credit. And I've been one of those guys. I've been one of those doubters. I've been one of those guys, you know, that has said, you know, he's coming back from vacation, he's not expecting much. He himself said he wasn't expecting much, you know. Going into this, he topped his round of 32 group above guys like Pig, Happy, and Targa. He topped his round of 16 group against, again, even above guys like Bunny, Has, and Welmu, which is pretty impressive in itself.
In the non-Korean world, some of those names in there are some of the biggest. So Kane has shown his worth here throughout the round of 32 and round of 16. Now he finds himself in the round of 8 as we get into Vani Research Station as our first map in this best of 5 between two players who have done so well for themselves so far in WCS, but one of them is gonna have to go home. As we get down to the bottom, it is our blue Zerg representing My Insanity. It is Kane. Haven't looked great so far here in the World Championship Series. And up to the north as our red Protoss representing alternate attacks all the way from Germany, it is ShoWTimE.
I find ShoWTimE to be pretty damn good up against Zerg, but he's definitely, you know, sometimes he's against very good play, he's gonna struggle a little bit more. You know, we saw him lose against Snoot yesterday. So here up against, you know, a Kane who's been playing very well himself overall, you know, just going with the build, picking it, going for the right execution is gonna be very important. And I feel like ShoWTimE, we already kind of know what to expect out of him. You know, he's going to be that guy that takes a third base, goes for sentry attacks, then, you know, keeps on getting his upgrades. He's been, like, once upon a time, you know, in a game, he kind of surprised me when he went for the commitment with the Stalkers. I think it was in one of the games yesterday on this map, actually, up against Snoot, where at some point it almost looked like he was going to break him, but in the end didn't. Whereas, as Kane here, you have a lot of options. You can go into Swarmos, you can go into Mutas. Kane, for me, is one of the best Zergs to transition into Mutas and, you know, play the base trade. He's played that style a lot. That's all he played for some time. I know, you know, he probably got inspired by Su, who was at the time, you know, was doing really well with that, you know, when he got the few second places in GSL.
That was a few.
That he reached.
Yeah, well, ShoWTimE's going to head on down here, see that there is that hatchery down, and play a little bit more fine from that point on. He's getting his Nexus down, not really worried about too much after seeing that hatchery in the back of this base.
It's been his go-to build. Gateway, the Nexus, without any gas, so if Kane wanted, he could easily go for something like, you know, a hatch first on the gold, even double hatch before pull would, I guess, will succeed quite easily early on. There is no way you can really punish that if you open the way you're doing here as ShoWTimE. So could be, you know, some adjustments here to make for Kane, who I'm sure watched all of, you know, the recent VODs from ShoWTimE to try and see how he likes to open, how he likes to play, and already has thought on how to counter.
Well, wall off is completed. This probe is hanging around down towards the bottom here, and it's unlike ShoWTimE to go for something very cheesy. So he's just wanting to get in there and get that scout down, spot this third hatchery, gets a good read on that with the links elsewhere, not able to deny that scout.
And remember yesterday on this map when ShoWTimE played against Snoot, we had Mana versus Firecake coming later on in the day, and we all thought that this was going to be the longest game, but no. There was a split map situation during Snoot versus ShoWTimE on this very map, in which ShoWTimE went for a lot of Tempest, a lot of Void Race, and ended up, you know, staying very long in the game for a guy who was pretty much dead against too many Corruptors. So I don't think he's going to want to look, you know, to split the map here possibly against a Kane who still can go for Swarm Host. Like, Kane is one of those guys that can play a lot of styles very well. Maybe not as well as Snoot in terms of Swarm Hosts, but he can play Swarm Host, so one thing to keep in mind.
Only one creep consumer going for Kane at the moment across these. Just the one queen that he has available to him is prioritizing other things before getting out other queens, actually, which is kind of interesting. Sometimes you see that because you can't actually spend this much lava across 3 hatcheries this early on because you just don't have the mineral bank up to actually get rid of all of that. But it's going to be the Stargate on the other side here for ShoWTimE, which does lead us to potentially some oracles coming out and try to poke around. Maybe
Phoenix. Phoenix possible here too. He's already taking double gas on his natural, so he's not going to be any kind of, you know, big pressure with like some Stargate units. And yeah, Phoenixes.
Yeah, it was rallied into his main
base.
I
don't even know why, but I could feel it.
Rare that you actually get to see this actually nowadays.
This is old school.
Yeah.
So, usually you follow this up, you know, with a pretty quick third, a Robo, you go into Colossus, and then you go into Blink, or you can do Phoenix straight into Blink and +2 and then delay your Robo a little bit more. you know, the trend before was that when you go for Phoenixes like this, you're going to force Hydralisks because otherwise, you know, your Phoenixes, they're still going to fly into spores, keep on killing drones left and right. He not only killed the first Overlord very quickly here, but he's going for another one on the top right-hand side. So right now, ShoWTimE is already going to be very annoying here with those Phoenixes, forcing, you know, Overlords much earlier here for Kane than he would have liked to make those.
+1 is on the way behind this for him. Kane is going for his layer as well as 2 extra gas geysers to accommodate the 3 across the bases that he's got, and tons of drones are on the way. With seeing the Phoenixes, and he knows that he can just make drone after drone after drone, doesn't have to worry about too much on the ground, and then from that point on rely on his Spore Crawlers as well as Queens to fend off these small attacks.
Yeah, ShoWTimE has been looking for Overlords on his side of the map. He, I think, cleared almost all of it. Now he realized that there isn't anyone there, so he's gonna want to look to pick up, you know, some drones here and there, get a few kills on these ones. He knows that, you know, right now he needs to build up his own economy while teching, and as many drones, or the more drones he can kill, the better it's going to be here for him. But Kane is actually pulled quite a bit ahead in terms of walkers, 60 drones to 48 probes right now.
Yeah, well, he's going to pick himself up this Queen to start things off. The 4th Phoenix wasn't there with it for a while, so he had to go for 2 lifts instead of the usual 1 to try and deal with that.
Yeah, finally a Twilight here goes down. Should line up decently well with, you know, when +1 finishes to start +2 and blink. So gonna skip on that Robo for now, which actually on this map, since the 3rd base is so open, can make a very few timings with a lot of Hydralisks and Zerglings very, very strong. Like Kane, he went for Eurotron, but as a safety Eurotron. So far, he hasn't had to use it. And if he chooses to, he could actually just go for a bunch of Hydralisks, be safe against the Phoenixes, go for a 4th base, and then go for a macro game, you know, with upgraded Roach Hydra plus Vipers. He has quite a few options here.
Yeah.
He could go into Infestation Pit now for that. He could go for just the Swarm Host. And we do see the Infestation Pit go down now, so...
It's so funny that he's actually prolonged this Phoenix production to up to 7. Sometimes when you see this, you actually see +1 weapons coming in for those Phoenix to make them a little bit more potent. And there it is actually going down. So there is the potential, or there was the potential that if you caught the Hydralisks as they were coming out, you can pick them off very, very fast. Yeah. And they're really, really powerful actually when they have that +1 weapons attack.
Nice calls so far in this series.
Thanks, man.
We call it, no. I didn't mean only you, but
I know.
We're definitely doing better here than we did yesterday in Haas's last game.
Well, yeah, maybe. All right, well, he's going to run off down to the left-hand side here and make sure that all those Phoenix are going to be intact, using those for later on aggression.
This is something I feel almost never see, going into Charge and High Templar here.
Yeah.
I think, was he anticipating some kind of, you know, lots of Hydralisks plus Roaches, in which case, you know, you can do okay against this.
Wow.
Later on in the game, as there will be more and more Swarm Hosts possibly made here, it becomes, you know, almost impossible to fight with just Zealots and Templars. So I don't know what ShoWTimE's plan is here. Like ideally, when you go for this style, you would like to have a Robo for a Prism that you can send inside, say for example, the Natural. You whop in a lot of, you know, Zealots, maybe even drop in some Archons there. And then you attack at the 3rd base at the same time with all of your army. But usually fighting against Locust is going to be very difficult with the composition that ShoWTimE is going for right now.
Well, these Swarm Hosts are on the way down towards this natural, or at least the 3rd base location. But the Phoenix continue to be extremely cost effective, and these Hydralisks are having a hard time of actually chasing them down. A drone here, a drone there, and after forcing out the Hydralisks with the Storm now on the way, if they get a little bit too eager in their positioning, they will end up melting. So it's a cool composition that we're seeing here from ShoWTimE at the moment.
Yeah, oh well, cool. It looks cool. I don't know if it's gonna do nearly as cool if it has to fight against Swarm Hosts and Locusts.
We'll see. Archon is being morphed in as well, and he does have Storm now, so...
The creep spread, by the way, a little bit lackluster so far here from Kane. He was doing a lot better yesterday against Stern, but he's starting to put a lot more effort into it. We see 3 Queens actually in position, you know, to start putting down, or placing down, you know, more creep tumors. I like the 3 Spore Crawlers here. It's really gonna help in defending against any kind of, you know, Phoenix or War Prism that could get in there. I don't know what ShoWTimE is expecting to achieve with this this small chunk of army here. Like I said, Locust is going to be very strong against this kind of composition here without Colossus.
Yeah, especially since it's been seen on the left-hand side as well. Unless he just wants to completely, as I've said, be in the previous couple of days, bulldoze through and go for Storm onto the Locust as well as Hydralisks. But he only has 4 High Templars, and I don't think that's going to be enough Storms to break these kind of locations just yet.
I'm a little bit surprised that ShoWTimE's not going to try to drop any High Templar for Storms. That third base would be ideal. You know, he could come in from the dead space, but there is nothing. Yeah, right there. Right there. That's where you score the big drone counts that you can snipe. But instead of that, he's going for Zealot drop on the third base, the natural, sorry, which is what I had mentioned at first. The thing is, right now, it's kind of late for him to do that. There should be enough here for ShoWTimE to defend against that.
That is a ridiculously well defended, that natural, but if he just goes elsewhere, it could be a lot of resources down the drain if it's not ever used. He goes into the base. Oh, he's actually going to pick up a Viper. Wow. Really nice little move there by ShoWTimE to kill off a very important unit.
Double Colossus production has begun here, and ShoWTimE is going to, when they look to start assembling his Death Ball, the thing is, Kane is going full snoot mode here. He saw the games from yesterday. He wants to split the map here, and ShoWTimE, he's going to start throwing away, you know, some Zealots on the left-hand side to try and snipe that base off, to try and delay it here from Kane. But I don't think that Kane's about to die anytime soon. And with Vipers, he's going to have a lot of initiative to do the same thing that Snoot did yesterday against ShoWTimE, when, you know, you start abducting these Colossus, you snipe them, you kill them, not really losing anything, you're just cost effective.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yes, ShoWTimE can limit Kane here to 3 bases. Warp Prism harassment on the right-hand side again here for ShoWTimE. Just really keeping Kane on his toes. But the Swarm Host player from here on out, we've seen how well 3 bases can work for Snoot. Yeah. We've seen that for a long time. Here come the Phoenix as well now to try and get into some of the action. If the Zealots had actually brought down the Spore Crawler in there, they could have done even more.
Yeah, but just one Spore. Just one Spore anyway against this many Phoenixes. They're like the happiest Phoenixes. They're doing a lot of damage. ShoWTimE needs to be careful, needs to pull back on time. And this has done quite a bit of damage, actually.
He came into this game expecting the style out
13 drones.
that we're seeing here from Kane. Gets all of those drones, and, well, still, Kane is maxed out. He's still at 70 workers. 36 have died off, but so he's made 106 so far in this game.
Look at Kane's face. He's not looking very happy with this. Or is he always like this when playing?
I think he's always like that. I'm not sure. But regardless of that, he, at the moment, is looking quite intense to the point where he's really concentrating down on this, trying to figure out a solution to the problem. And this base has been threatened so much, he's more than happy to continuously make huge amounts of static defense at that natural.
2-2 is going to finish here for Kane, who I really like this, actually. The fact that he went for double Evo. ShoWTimE's moving out with a very, very scary army here, Kailaris. He has 5 Colossi. He has a very good mix overall. The thing is, he really doesn't have that many Stalkers, and he doesn't have Blink yet, which is very unusual for PvZ. Like, you never go charge into Blink Stalkers later on. You know, that used to happen against Terran once upon a time, but not really anymore. The thing is, being maxed out and with as many Templars as he has right now, there is still a chance he might be able to make something happen here, but the concave of Kane and the static defense that he has should be enough with good abducts. It's really going to come down to the abducts, though. He has 3 Vipers with lots of energy.
Phoenix are going to try and get on top of those Vipers if they come anywhere near, but at the same time, obviously, the Hydras will zone those out from the ground for Kane. I figured that ShoWTimE may have gone for an aggressive move down towards the left when he was dropping there and knew that the Roaches and Hydras were out of place, but the static defense and Swarm Hosts are holding just fine for now.
ShoWTimE, look at his upgrades. He's going for level 2 ground armor now. 3-1 upgrades right now against 2-2.
Good feedbacks.
He has such a much earlier saturated 4th than Kane, which is actually, he's killing his 4th base right now. So ShoWTimE, I think he's just gonna try to suffocate his opponents. You know, yesterday up against Snoot, he went for the Stargates very, very quickly, kind of accepted that it was gonna be a split map situation. He learned the lesson, Kailaris. Today he's saying, I'm not gonna split the map with you. I'm gonna suffocate you completely with 4 bases against 3. Never gonna let you expand again.
Kane does look a bit anxious about this as this continues on. Storms are going to rain down on these Locusts, and if he's going to push forwards, this is a good time to do it. He's expended quite a bit of energy on those Storms to actually clear that up and allow him a little bit of room to go for this. So he's killing off those Spine Crawlers, he's getting on top of the Swarm Host, dropping Storms on all of the reinforcing units that are trying to keep the Swarm Hosts alive here. And if he can actually just rip this location apart, look at the supply advantage he's taking.
ShoWTimE's positioning and concave beautiful here, making sure no Vipers could come in and abduct any of the Colossi. They're still all alive, and he's reinforcing with a lot of gateway units behind this. A lot of Stalkers and Zealots coming in. ShoWTimE is still maxed out here.
perfect slow push there for ShoWTimE as he dropped the storms, found that window of opportunity and crushed on through. Once those storms go down at the front as Kane, I think you've got to be very, very fearful. When a Protoss commits to that, then, I mean, why else would he be in that position?
That was very, very well conducted here of a game by ShoWTimE. And to be honest, this kind of looked like what I was expecting yesterday out of Mana vs Firecake, which turned out to be a completely different match than that. That's what I expected their match to look like. But in the end, it's ShoWTimE here that shows us, you know, that up against Swarm Host, you can suffocate a Zerg if you play really well like this.
Yeah.
If you make all the right moves, you know, kill units here and there, do a little bit of light harassment, and then go for a timing like this with exactly enough Colossi, quite a few High Templars as well. You know, since he opened High Templar, and he had them from very early on, they were very high on energy, by the way, which really, really helped with not only a lot of storms, but feedback being available. Vipers couldn't fly in, and Kane even played it very well. Rather than just, you know, tilting and flying in with the Vipers and getting them feedbacks, he stood back with them. He just waited, tried to weather the storm, literally, but didn't happen.
Well, next map is going to be Catallena here. Todd, between these two, and ShoWTimE looked really, really good there in that game. Kane was getting to the position that he wanted. Of course, he was having to replenish a load of drones, but he knew that was going to be the case anyway for a long time in that game, and was very active about it, didn't make that many units whilst that was going on. So I think Kane was in an okay spot as well, but ShoWTimE just played that out brilliantly. On Catallena here, Todd, who are you favoring regarding after you've seen that first match?
Maybe ShoWTimE a little bit, but I feel like Kane, if he was to play, you know, his usual style, which on this map, I think a good thing he could do is what I mentioned earlier, you know, going for links and roaches, making sure he's safe, and then doing a transition straight into Spire and Mutas, playing the base trade, you know?
Yeah.
He's really, really good at that. Like I said before, Kane, he can play Swarm Host, he can play it well, but not nearly as well as Snoot, and that's really, you know, what kind of cost him the game to some extent in the previous game.
Yeah, potentially. All right, well, let's get into things. It's going to be game number 2 here between Kane and ShoWTimE. Both of these players really having a proper upstart here in 2015, showing great results across the board in WCS. And let's see who's going to move on to a round of 4. It means a lot for both of these guys, as we have spawning on the right-hand side here of Catallena, down to the bottom as our blue Zerg representing Mind Sanity, it is Kane. Had a great round of 32 and round of 16, but his round of 8 so far hasn't gone the best just yet because of this man. Over to the left-hand side, it's our red Protoss representing alternate attacks, it is ShoWTimE.
And ShoWTimE on this map, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, still went for his standard / safe opener that he seems to appreciate so much, you know, the Gateway M13, this time at the ramp, followed by Nexus without any kind of gas. I mean, he's up against Kane. Kane's not really known, you know, for cheesing all that much. And again, as ShoWTimE, if you go for that safe build, you're going to be okay against most things. Kane, on the other hand, like, he really doesn't have to be greedy or anything. He could be decently greedy if he wanted to. He actually checks for proxies in his main.
Wow.
For a second here with the drone.
Well, just want to cover all his bases, I guess. That is something that you never know. You never know. In a best of 5, when somebody goes up, as much as ShoWTimE isn't really the cheesiest of players, he just likes the stable, strong macro play. You never know what can change someone in a high-octane situation like this. So I like that by Kane.
I hope he goes Mutas. I really want to see how ShoWTimE is going to be able to deal with that style, because it can be very, very difficult, especially on a map like Catallena. But with these positions, ShoWTimE, if you wanted to be very aggressive, you know, if you wanted, you know, take a third, go into 8 gates and do some big aggression, it would be a lot scarier than on the other positions, in my opinion. Just because, like, he can even make a pylon up in his main and warp outside.
You know, I think ShoWTimE, even the pylon might just, him throwing that down might be seeing what Kane was doing on the side, because he was even checking for cannon rushes and stuff like that, and bringing a second drone down to contest that, and got on that probe very quickly as it was coming into the base. So Kane is playing so cautiously. Like, more cautious than we've actually seen him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say against Haas, but he's playing at cautious Haas levels in this series at the moment.
As good as it can be, right now it's not the right choice because ShoWTimE is the one who tricked Kane quite a few times.
Yeah. Well, he's going to go back in here with the probe, see if he can get a little bit of a look around, and we'll end up seeing there is a lack of gas. Maybe try and dart over to the left-hand side to spot if there will be a third after getting this read. And from then on out, he will be playing his own game. There's not a whole lot that Kane can do without any gas at this point to really threaten our Protoss player.
Kane's gonna play gasless since he had to rush that third base, which I guess is not that important early on. It doesn't really need speed. I don't think the ShoWTimE, goes for aggressive builds enough for it to be scary. And even then, Kane, he can easily, in a moment, go for a roach run, make sure that he's safe and all that. I wonder what Kane's plan is, and if he already has like a very defined one. With with the loss in the first game on one of the maps where Swamos is supposed to be pretty good, he definitely should try something else, in my opinion.
Now that Stalker will block these Lings off for now and see now what he's going to be able to do from that point on. ShoWTimE, I'm predicting just can happily go to a very quick third base from here and just keep himself well locked down. Stalker's actually going to start moving across the map. I mean, he saw the lack of gas, so that it doesn't matter too much. He could do something like that, but at the same time, doesn't want to overextend too much into the map. He's playing it cautious, getting that overload at the back.
ShoWTimE always gets a quick Stalker, and I think this Robo is going to be spotted here, Kailaris, which is going to be a pretty big deal. ShoWTimE is really not the guy to cancel, but here he has a very good opportunity to possibly cancel and go into gateways, but I don't think he will. ShoWTimE is that guy who likes to play solid. He's not Haas, simply put. Like Haas is going to become the reference for all this kind of cancel and tricks that you can use in some matchups.
As I say about a few players, but for me, Haas is that very cerebral player that is always looking to mess with his opponent's mind, and that's really, really fun to watch.
He became the symbol, the beacon of light of all Protosses.
It's beautiful. It's how Protoss should be played, man, in my opinion.
It is?
One of the ways, definitely. The other way is how ShoWTimE usually goes about things. Extra gases. War Prism's actually going down to complement these 4 gateways that he's going to have available to him. Which is unusual. Usually you just go for 3, but I guess since he wants to go for aggression, it's going to make his aggression that much scarier. ShoWTimE, usually when you go for this, it can be pretty good to all in behind it. Like, throw down a Robo-Bag, go for like a double or triple Colossus, all in. We already have roaches in productions, like with the third base not being attempted so far by ShoWTimE, I think Kane's realizing that there could be some aggression. There's a probe with this. He could actually try and make cannons if he force fields him out.
Oh, he is?
This is...
Oh, he's going to go for the force field on the ramp and a cannon warped in here.
Oh my god. ShoWTimE. Oh wow. Well, okay, so
there's nothing on the path.
Yeah, I was expecting him to go towards the ramp.
Oh, he's going all the way...
Wait, what? What?
Oh, he's
using it to... He shepherded it out to actually... Oh, wow, that's so amazing. He had vision on the front. He's bringing it forward to actually throw down the pylon to reinforce later on. He's not going to expect a probe having come out there. And he's protecting his ramp, and he's like, well, yeah, okay, then great. I've protected my ramp. That's fine. This is kind of cool here from ShoWTimE.
Usually with this, though, you go for an immortal push or something behind this. But now it's going to be pure gateway here by ShoWTimE. He's about to reach, I think, 6 or 7. He's chrono boosting out all the gates. Yeah, he's on 8 gates.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. ShoWTimE. Okay, if this works, then that's pretty impressive. Kane, of course, is supply blocked at the moment, and one of those overlords ended up falling. The Zealots are going to trade up against some Zerglings, which isn't exactly the best. But can this work, Todd?
Usually not. But we've seen, force fields winning games here and there, mostly thinking about Potting here, who's made some magic work in his recent games against Zerg. The thing is, Kane is really worried about another War Prism in the main, doesn't know about this army. He could get force fielded out of his third base, Kailaris.
He sees it now. He's going to have to do something, but he's being a little bit apprehensive about the movement forwards, having to defend his back at the back with these force fields and a Stalker to start things off.
You know what ShoWTimE could have done? Fly the War Prism in the main, lure all the units of Kane, go there. Actually, he finally gets the force fields here to lock him inside of his natural. I'm actually surprised that Kane hasn't started something like Tunneling Class. He hasn't even started speed. for his roaches. He's only pumping out units.
2 of those gateways going to be underpowered. Extra force fields will land for this third base so they can try and put on some pressure here. There's not that many units there. The roaches are going to need to go all the way around before they can even get in. There's no way that ShoWTimE's going to be able to let these up. He will keep force fielding those off. Just a small little slit there for some of those units to sneak on through. But the Zerglings have got into the main base. Roaches get cleaned up in the natural, and he will continue to power up the third.
Okay, finally, Kane, you need to go around, man.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get up there. There's too many sentries. He goes around with a big chunk of roaches and Zerglings.
Oh, there's a few roaches in there that he will be able to pick up for completely free. But here comes the left-hand side flank. Now going to try and be exploited here by Kane as he comes around. A few force fields are going to seal that off. Extra units are being warped in, but ShoWTimE takes a supply advantage, army advantage, and the units here have been so cost-effective for him because of the way the force fields have been used.
He kills so much. He reduced the army count of Kane massively, killed a lot of drones.
Wow, GG ShoWTimE. Oh boy. Able, just even the small little detail of taking the probe over there to throw down that pylon and really catch Kane off guard is something that in this series, Kane was not expecting. Not at all.
Yeah. It's a little bit weird though, like, I wonder what he was thinking when he saw the army down there and he realized that for a second he could have been force fielded out of his natural and then he still didn't go down the ramp. But the thing is, if you go down, then you have to take the fight and you can still kind of get your army split, so it's very difficult. ShoWTimE with this build, he basically really exploited, the overlay of the map and used the map terrain to his advantage, much like Parting did recently.
Well, ShoWTimE at the moment is 1 game away from moving on to the round of 4. What a performance he has put on so far here in these past 2 games. Let's hear from the expert panel to see exactly how ShoWTimE has been able to do this.
Thank you very much, Kalaris. I'm with the boys once again. Another series, another one-sided one so far. Rotterdam, let's go into game number 1. I know we were here watching it and you had that massive grin like you have right now. Your eyes were sparkling and you loved everything that ShoWTimE did.
Yeah, I really did. Like, I've been playing an unhealthy amount of StarCraft lately, like hundreds and hundreds upon games, and there's one style in PvZ that I truly fell in love with, and that is that Nexus Spurs into Phoenixes with +1 attack, and then instead of dropping a robo immediately, like people used to do, you actually rely on charge. I like to eat in DTs as well, he didn't do that, but I think this is an extremely strong style, and I was really curious to see how Kane would deal with it, and I actually thought the way that Kane was dealing with it was a very good one, where he didn't make a Roach Hydra attack. A lot of people probably thought, like, he should just Roach Hydra attack against all these Phoenixes, but +1 Phoenixes actually wreck those builds, and if a Zerg commits a lot of their resources into an attack like that, and it doesn't work, it's almost game over. So I felt he took the right approach against it, and ShoWTimE still made it almost look easy. Like, he played a phenomenal game, and I think that's a phenomenal build. I was very excited to see it.
If we go back to think about ShoWTimE in the round of 16, in all honesty, he squeezed out of that group. It was very close, he wasn't looking that good, and a lot of people saying he's not playing like the same ShoWTimE we usually see, but up there right now, he is killing it.
Yeah, some solid multitasking in that game, and maybe he saved some of his stronger builds for this part of the tournament, because we didn't see that build earlier on.
Yeah,
that thing looks crazy strong, and it's very unorthodox. We've never seen that around before. Like Rotterdam says, I was going to say Rotterdam came up with it.
I'm sure that there's always multiple people to style, but like, I fell in love with this, and I was always like, people always like, haha, Roddy build, hashtag, haha, so funny, Tempest. But when I was doing this build, I was like, guys, like, too many people on my stream, I was like, I actually think this is a legitimately very good build. Like, I called it my masterpiece, jokingly. And I was very excited to wonder if I would see something like it, and the way that ShoWTimE just did it, like, obviously way better execution than I would ever do, but I think that was so awesome, and I almost agree with Fenna, like, this is the type of build that you don't wake up on a Sunday morning in your quarterfinals, let's mess around with +1 Phoenix. It really felt like he was almost saving it for something, and well, this was great. This was really, really good.
The perfect time to save it and the perfect day to wake up and say, I'm going to play StarCraft the best I can ever play, because he is looking that good up there. But let's talk a little bit about Kane. Red face, we talked about it yesterday when he started to lose games, he was getting nervous, getting shaky. What's happening to him up there?
I mean, honestly, from the looks of things, we get to see a bit of the perspective of those guys when we get the shots on them in the booths while they're playing. Yesterday versus Bunny, you could really see a bit of the nerves. His hands were shaking really, really badly, and it was kind of impressive because he was able to squeeze that 2 out of that series. It seems he might be almost too focused at this point. I feel he's actually put a bit more pressure on himself than he's let on in the interviews, where he looks very, very focused. You don't have any emotion, and I think in the back of his mind, he's actually quite concerned about this series, and that might be digging into him a little bit.
As good as ShoWTimE's playing, is Kane underperforming up there?
I think game number 2 a little bit, yes. Like I think the way that he had his units first in position in game number 2, then normally you should be in a great position because you kind of figured out what's going on. All right, he made a lot of gateways. He's definitely relying on this prism to do some sort of damage, and he didn't find it at first. So normally Kane, a Zerg that is as good as he is, he should be able to keep track of that army from that position on, and he should be able to overrun it eventually. And the fact that he was still caught out of position, I think that you can contest that he's playing a little bit under what he used to do.
Okay, well, you've just been promoted, Fenner, to Coach Fenner. Let's play pretend for a second. You're allowed to go up there, enter the booth, and say, all right, buddy, Kane, listen to me. What are you going to be telling him in there right then to help, hopefully, change this around?
He needs to focus on just keeping track of the army, where the harassment is going, because in both of the games, the reason why he fell behind in game number 1 is because he dealt well with the harassment on the right side of the map, but because he was dealing so well with the harassment on the right side of the map, the army kept moving through the middle on the left and taking down that 4th base. Same again in the second game. He saw the army originally, the prism came in, he sees it, he shuts it down, and then he forgets about it. It moves across the left side, 2 force field block off the ramp, move up to 3rd, 2 force fields block off the ramp. He doesn't need that to happen if he knows where the army is.
So the key advice, follow that army, know where it is at all times.
Keep vision on it.
Keep vision on it. All right, thank you very much, guys. Awesome analysis for all of you. Now let's go back into the game. Can Kane turn this around? He needs to, otherwise we will see another 3-0.
Game 3 about to begin now after a 2-0 trouncing so far here from ShoWTimE, as Kane is really up against it now. He looked so good in the round of 32, in the round of 16. He looked pretty calm and collected, but in this series so far, he looks kind of agitated and uncomfortable with the position that he's been put in.
It's really good by ShoWTimE to mix in an all-in like this, a very, very aggressive build, which sadly wasn't scouted. Maybe because, so ShoWTimE, I feel like he doesn't go for these builds all that often. He very rarely goes for this kind of build, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe in a show, I guess in a best of 5, it's more likely though. In best of 5, even players that don't cheese much, they understand, the importance of at least throwing 1 or 2 in there, just to make sure you keep your opponent on your toes. And here, it worked out great here for him.
All right, well, let's get into things. Going to be game number 3 now at the moment. The man to the right is 2-0 up here in this best of 5, looking to move on to the round of 4 to play against Hydra, who has already advanced on in swift fashion. As we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner, it is our blue Zerg. Representing my insanity, it is Kane, who has it all to play for now. Needs to win 3 games in a row if he wants to keep his WCS dream alive.
Try to line it up with the French guys.
And up to the top right-hand corner as our red Protoss, representing alternate attacks. It is a very cool Protoss player. It's ShoWTimE. That was rubbish.
They always do very long introductions.
I was going to say, like, the thing is that I actually tried to do that before. I can't remember where it was. I think it was an Asian cast, and I was trying to line it up. Maybe we were in Taiwan or something. And it was very, very easy then because they were keeping it short, and you could hear the build-up, but I can't hear the French much at all. So, sorry, bro. Sorry.
It's okay. I will think no less of you.
It's okay.
For this, but for some other things.
Yeah, I was going to say, other actions that have come to pass.
ShoWTimE's changing it up here, by the way. Rather than going for the standard, gateway and Nexus, it's going to be a Nexus first here in this game. He's scouting for a little bit of proxies here. Sometimes players get desperate, especially after being down 0-2. Kane is definitely also one of those Zergs that can throw in, some funky builds here and there. So gonna want to be careful here for ShoWTimE. He's just gonna go for Nexus, go for Scouts, and behind this, the standard gateway in the main.
Oh wow, Kane. Really, really playing very, very greedy here, potentially.
Oh, thinking about the gold base.
No, just going for that triple expand, or double expand even, I should say, off the back of anticipating his opponent going for a Nexus first or something a little bit less aggressive. Very cool start here from Kane. It's going to put him in a great economical spot to propel himself forward in this game number 3, which he needs. He needs it.
I feel like it's very hard for Kane to solve the ShoWTimE problem right now, because ShoWTimE, He's been hitting, you know, very, very insane timings.
Yeah.
Here and there, he's always making a lot of sentries, and he's using these perfect force fields that make it so difficult for Zerg to deal, you know, with sentries, stalkers, and all that. So right now, he has to be thinking about how to exactly play against this. It's just so difficult. If ShoWTimE, you know, was playing very well, but like, you know, playing fairly passively and all that, going to the late stage of the game, just mixing units very well, then I feel like it would be much easier for Kane to come to the right conclusions, you know, as to what he needs to do different. But right now, having to defend against somebody, you know, who attacks as well as ShoWTimE, it's been very difficult here for Kane. So he's gonna need to do everything better, I feel. Macro, you know, see the attacks coming early to be able to prepare, set up the concave and all that, you know, big flank.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you have a curveball thrown at you like you did in Game 2, where ShoWTimE just generally isn't going for something like that, it will throw you off. But Kane has to keep his composure somehow, some way, solve the ShoWTimE conundrum, which does sound like a game show now that I think about it. And from that point on, he just needs to get back to that rhythm that he was in the past couple of days.
One of the greatest things that I've come to like here about ShoWTimE's play is that every single time his Cybercore is up, he gets a Stalker immediately, and that's denied so much scouting. Even like chasing away the Overlords like this. Kane has been playing without information for the most part.
Yeah.
Most of this series against ShoWTimE, and that makes it so difficult for him to see anything coming and react.
And even when he got the information of the Robo, he still wasn't properly prepared for the things that ShoWTimE can throw at him. Supply block now, kind of annoying. Twilight Council up to the top left. ShoWTimE is throwing yet another curveball, and with the probe still up there, it's probably going to be a Dark Shrine.
Yeah, I'm thinking Dark Shrine since he hit it like that. To be honest, hiding it like this is a bit funny because he always goes for a Stalker and denies the scouting. But right now with 2 links inside of his base, it's almost as if he had anticipated this will happen. And it's going to be so hard for Kane to read into this.
Especially since he sees a Forge as well at the back. He's probably thinking, oh, okay, quick third base. Ooh.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy. Or girl, you never know. With
Oh, no. It's an Overlord in French. So.
Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, well, there's the Dark Shrine on the way now. There's a few Lings as well as the Roach Warren are going to go down, but if he delays his layer for quite a bit during all of this and sees that Forge and thinks that it's just going to be like a 3-gate into expand, but there's the layer, that will help him out a bit during this.
When you go for DT like this, getting a good proxy pylon across the map can be difficult, but I'm thinking this probe on the top left-hand side is the one that's going to be sent there, and there is nothing on the left-hand side, really. It's mostly about the right-hand side here for Kane to, you know, do a bit of scouting. So if he was to go, you know, all the way down there, even made a pylon behind the middle line of that one base that's just below, right there, Funka, thank you. If you made a pylon there, like, the DTs will get so quickly, not only into the main, but into the natural, into the third base. So this is, I'm very worried right now for Kane. I'm very, very worried. And the thing is also, like ShoWTimE, he doesn't really open Stargates, and when he does, you know, it's a lot more scoutable, and then, you know, you don't need to get the Spores ASAP because the first Oracle, you can defend better with your just Queens at first and then with Phoenixes. And now rushing the third base like this, ShoWTimE is selling story too. He's saying, I'm going blink and +2, you know, very standard. Don't worry, you don't need to be worried, I'm going standard.
You completely stole the words out of my mouth. It's very, very good selling of the story here. Here's a Spire going down for Kane, so he was going towards that Muta play that you were mentioning before, but with 3 Dark Templars, if they're all together and they just go for a hatchery, I think he's going to split them off and try and go for drones, but if they went for a hatchery in a location, it's like 18 seconds before
he saw them
in the middle.
He spotted them.
Good reactions there by Kane. Really good reactions, not breaking a sweat here at this moment, but well, even the Dark Templars see the Overseers morphing up and they've got to just try and do damage wherever they can.
Wow, and then so far they haven't done anything. They've killed about 6 drones. That's nothing. To take the words of Maynard.
Not quite with the passion of Maynard, but it was there.
8 drones. Kane's going to be able to replace that so easily. We see 11 drones. Well, I guess I'll replace those. He says 13 drones in the production tab here for Kane, now what that means essentially is that Blink's going to be late. A lot of the production facilities of ShoWTimE are going to be late. Usually you get a Robo behind it, which is going to be completely useless against Mutas. So Kane's very happy with the way this has gone here. He's going to get a lot of links, a lot of roaches to make sure he's not only safe on the ground, but he can later hit. Usually when you go for Mutas like this, you fly them into the main, Kaelaris, you start doing damage there, and you hit the third base with the ground army.
Yeah.
And ShoWTimE not being aware of this for this long, he's gonna be so surprised. Blink is not even halfway through done. You need Blink against Mutas.
Yeah, I mean it's just a minor thing for ShoWTimE here. But when he sent those Dark Templars through the middle, I was expecting him to send them down the right to actually try and get there quickly without being spotted. Through the middle, there's the potential that you do get spotted there. So it's just a minor thing. But now Kane knows everything.
ShoWTimE having spotted the Mutas as they came out, he's starting to throw down cannons in the main. He wants to make sure he's going to have enough Stalkers spread out across his bases. He already has 2 cannons in the natural, which is definitely going to help with the photon overcharge. He's going to be seeing out Blink. Kane, though, he's a master of this style.
Yeah, he is. These Mutas going to fly into the mineral line. That cannon is nowhere near completion. He can easily just sit here, kill the cannon, and cause a lot of disruption here to the mining time of ShoWTimE. He's down 50 supply. This is a perfect opportunity for Kane to get himself back in this series, even just working on the pylons for a second there.
Yeah. This is something that could do a lot of damage, by the way. Right now, a War Prism's moving across the map to try and warp in, Zealots, DTs, send them into the main mineral line, and there's no static defense. There are no Overseer nearby. This could do a lot. I think it's been spotted. It's envisioned to be spotted here. And Kane, he was hesitating for a second. He needs to come back faster.
Yeah, decides to turn around with the Force in the middle. That does have an Overseer with it. And the Dark Templar as well as the Zealot will be cleaned up pretty quickly. And also the Warp Prism because there's so many Mutalisks on the map. So good defense there by Kane.
There is a few different ways to counter this. You can stay on the ground here for ShoWTimE and, just mass on Blink Stalkers. Sometimes even add a bunch of Colossus, to deal with the amount of links that you could face on the ground. Max out, get a lot of cannons, move out and fight. Or you can go for Phoenixes. Right now, ShoWTimE already having 13 Stalkers, even though it's 20 Mutas. He can warp in a few more of those Stalkers, be safe against the Mutas, and then tech into Phoenixes.
Whoa!
But Kane's gonna try to make something happen.
That was ambitious.
The sentries.
Yeah, it's he could have tried to catch actually those. There was the photon overcharge doing a little bit of damage at the natural and even the main. He had 2 photon overcharges actually on the next side, which you don't really see too often.
There is a fine line between rushing things here for Kane, which he shouldn't do, and having to deal some damage. Because if he stays idle, if he doesn't make anything happen, then he's letting ShoWTimE max out, he's letting ShoWTimE go into Phoenixes with range, and then it's just so difficult. So he's actually, oh my god, that cloud of Muta is massive.
Yeah, he's got 27 Mutas at the moment.
Against 13 Stalkers only. What are you doing, ShoWTimE? You need more and more Stalkers before transitioning into Phoenixes.
He could just kill him. He could just kill him outright. I mean, that is a lot of firepower here behind the Mutalisks. He does see that the fleet beacon is being added on.
Yeah.
So he's trying to do what damage he can to these Stalker numbers. He should just fight it straight up. These Stalkers really don't have the firepower available to them to actually push this back here from Kane, who is swinging around with the rest of his army in towards the main base. Still 20 Stalkers, still 20 Mutalisks against 3 Stalkers, 2 Phoenix.
Yeah.
ShoWTimE is so up against it
the sentries were in the third base, and Zerglings are going to enter through the natural. Now they're going to head in the main to help against the Stalkers even.
The Swarm's going to overwhelm. The Swarm is continuing on top of all of the Phoenix that are about to pop out. He's trying to micro them back, and at the same time, he has actually cleaning up some of the force at the front, but it's not much use. He's lost tons of probes, he's lost tons of his army, and it's 100 supply advantage here for Kane.
Yeah, I mean, not much you can do here as ShoWTimE, but try to survive, try to squeeze out more and more Phoenixes to hold against the Mutas, but Kane at this point, he has a 5th base up.
Nexus goes down. He's got even less economy than he did before. The Zerglings in the third base as well, as Kane chases down those Phoenix without the range upgrade, making it all the harder here for ShoWTimE to recover. He made the gamble at the very beginning of the game. It didn't pay off. GG. Kane is able to take game number 3 and make this a bit more of a meal than our first series of the day.
A bit more of a meal. After he ate some rabbit yesterday, he's in a bit of trouble here against ShoWTimE, but finally brings it back with, guess what? What did I tell you? What's the best way to deal with a Protoss player like ShoWTimE? Roachling into Mutas, man. It's that simple. When you're good at it, why try to play anything else, really?
I really expected you then to say, what is the best way to deal with a Protoss? Not just a Protoss like ShoWTimE, but...
It's like Haz, Haz, he's good at cheesing. What does he do? He doesn't try to macro. Well, Kane is very good at roachling into Mutas. He should play more roachling into Mutas. Just he's very strong overall. Su for the longest time was playing this style and making it work very, very well. He always relied on those Mutas against Protoss. and made them look strong.
Even the straight-up engagements that you can take with Ling Roach and then Muta as a fighting unit when you know your opponent is having a bit of a hard time there is very, very powerful. He had such a strong army there, very, very strong lead.
Yeah.
Of course, as we said before, ShoWTimE tried to go for some damage at the beginning with those Dark Templars that didn't really pay off, didn't hit the mark.
In terms of build order, like surely this was just great how everything turned out here for Kane. Like he already had the lair for Overseers. Obviously, this wasn't like a super fast DT rush here out of ShoWTimE. And behind this, since he has slowed down his blink so much and he invested so much into the DTs, I think it was like 3 DTs that he whopped in. That's a lot of gas. In particular, he had so few stalkers. Like I was actually really sad. Like you never see 13 stalkers to 20 mutas unless something really bad happened, and something really bad did happen this game, which put ShoWTimE behind.
Well, now, very, very soon we will be getting into game number 4, and it's going to be on Deadwing, a map that can be absolutely huge if you get some cross spawns going on during this. And Kane has the potential to come back 2-2. For both of these players, who have risen so high in the WCS system so far, WCS points now become a big, big issue and a big, big statement of importance. They could gain huge amounts of points here to propel themselves forwards, and if they do well in successive seasons later on, who knows what they can accomplish, but let's get into it.
Getting 2,000 points early on in the year, considering, you know, the rank 16 at 3,000 plus last year, that will be a very good start, you know.
All right, well, let's start as we have game number 4 here in this series, as we have spawning up to the top left, down to the bottom left corner even, I should say, as our blue Zerg. Representing my insanity, it is Kane. And up to the top left-hand corner, it's our red Protoss, representing alternate attacks. 1 game away from the round of 4, it is ShoWTimE.
Kind of feels like on this map and in these positions, if Kane was to try the same thing and ShoWTimE play standard, it wouldn't be nearly as good. Like ShoWTimE, you know, is very, very good, you know, at taking a third base, going to a lot of blink stalkers, and then moving out and making something happen. If you're going to only roach link straight into mutas, then the force fields are kind of going to reign supreme. I wonder if he was thinking about a cannon rush here. He went for a pylon down the ramp. Yeah, he's actually rallying a probe already at his natural, but since he's going to scout Kane first, it's very likely that Kane's just going to go for a pull first here anyway. Yeah, you see that drone. He's ready for the pull.
Yep.
Oh, he's going to prevent it. Nope.
Juking driving, but it's not successful. As for now, it's not really much more he can do from there, so we're probably going to be seeing Nexus first here from ShoWTimE. He is 1 game away from the round of 4. I can't emphasize enough how amazing that is for a player like ShoWTimE. Even a player like Kane, who, yes, has to win 2 more games. The opportunity and the WCS points, the prestige, everything that comes along with a round of 4 spot is amazing between these two, who don't normally get to this position. This is the first time either of them has really been in this spot to grab it by the horns and really go at it.
Yeah, it's a great adjustment by ShoWTimE not to go for the Forge before the Nexus. He's going to be able to start that much earlier. And from there, he still went into a Forge behind his, fully knowing that, you know, if you go for a gateway, then Lynx can get in, they can do some damage, it can be pretty annoying. So it's funny how, like, the game is already so different as far as openers go than both players had pictured. Like originally, Kane was going to go for Hatch first, and ShoWTimE was going to go for Forge first, and they've already both adjusted completely what they were going for. And right now, Kane's going to figure out that he's up against a Nexus and most likely a Forge, and I guess he's going to be pretty happy about it. That means he can drone for a very long time, but not for too long, Kailaris, because ShoWTimE, much like every other Protoss, he knows that he has to, you know, be out there, be inflicting some damage, or I think at least be threatening the Zerg player, because if you don't do that and you let a Zerg rush to 70 to 80 drones, well, winning's going to be pretty tough.
For now, Kane is just sitting back on this double hatchery that he has added on to his main base, and we'll be transferring a few drones down there to get his economy in nice shape. But ShoWTimE, on the other hand, I'm expecting a big macro, or at least a more macro focus out of him here on Deadwing. If he can do that, we've seen time and time again that his continuation into the later stages of the game has been very, very powerful. But These are really good spots for Swarm host play here, Todd.
Yeah, the thing is with the way the first game went, even if Kane was to go for it, I don't know. I'm not a big fan.
You don't think it will work at all?
He would have to play a lot better than the first game, and I mean, even though he played well in the previous game, it's really, you know, that build order that propelled him very well into the game. So I don't know if Kane's ready yet. He hasn't reached, you know, the snoot status or the 5K one where when he goes for Swarm host, he's very, very threatening. ShoWTimE has he's even shown us, you know, that he can deal very well with the Swarm host style. He's got quite a bit of practice against it on the European ladder, so.
Well, we're going to see Stargate again from ShoWTimE, and it may just be straight to Phoenix again here, as it did serve him well. There's 2 Overlords outlying on the edges of his base that can be killed off first by those Phoenix.
You know, that game on Vani, actually, like, when your opponent opens with 7 Phoenixes, it's actually so hard to go into a Spire, so that might have been why also Kane chose to go, you know, for Swarm host rather than even try going for a Spire. Very few Zergs would dare doing that, aka only blind Nurture, and every single time. And they go for Corruptors and then Mutas, but it's very hard to pull off.
All right, well, let's see how Kane's going to fare against this time. He was able to replenish his drones very, very quickly, keep that economy high and strong. And if he's able to do so again, could be good, but it's going to be an Oracle. And the Overlord moves in straight away and sees the Oracles in production. So really good scout there by Kane.
Yeah, especially seeing that it's an Oracle, you know, it's a pretty big deal in knowing, you know, how to time these spores that he's going to be getting. The walker count is something we should pay close attention to. Like, ShoWTimE's doing a good job, you know, of getting probes out, but this is really the time when Kane is going to start getting a lot of drones out at the same time. And he's already gone for the spores, so for now it's only going to be drones for quite a bit here. Only 2 gases so far.
The Oracle's on the way. 3 spores about to finish up, as you just mentioned, with that Roach Warren almost complete as well. This Oracle, I'm not sure whether ShoWTimE can get a huge amount done with it. There isn't too much connection of creep between these bases, so the Queens can't reinforce too easily, but at least the Spore with 1 Queen is enough.
The German Air Force, man. Flying in there, getting just 2 drones, making sure he gets out of here, you know, without losing too many hit points. And in the meantime, we have, well, ShoWTimE, yeah, he's just, you know, taking the 3rd base, not the quickest that you can take. And by the look of things, he's going to make the same Twilight, you know, addition that he did in the previous game on Vani. But the thing is, back then, he went for, you know, a little bit of a funky transition with like Charge and then High Templars and Storm. I wonder if he's going to do the same here. It worked out pretty well for him, but I don't know, like, it's really because he played it so well and, you know, went for transitions, and Kane didn't play it that well. Like, I feel like it wasn't supposed to work as well as it did. Avoid race starts.
Well, yeah, because this is a really aggressive push here by Kane, who has brought a lot of Roaches and Lings forwards, continue to make Lings.
But I'm starting to think whether or not we might see something like, you know, the SOS play with the additional targets. But first, he needs to hold this comfortably. He needs to start dropping in Stalkers. He doesn't have that much firepower here against these Roaches. Sentries do well against Lings, but not Roaches.
Potent overcharges up. The Lings that flooded through actually got cleaned up pretty well by the sentries that were there. And now these Roaches and Lings have not really done much. I mean, they underpowered some of the gateways, yeah, sure, at the front. They're going to try and break down these rocks, but with the Void Ray now here. Yeah, turn around. You've activated. Go, kill the... Well, I mean, yeah, you can go that way as well. So, he's going to
5 more gates. And Blink and +2. Okay, ShoWTimE. He just realized that Kane, he cut walkers at 66, went for a lot of units. He knows that behind this, he can just stay on his 55 walkers or even add a few more and go for a massive gateway attack.
Yeah. It's like when he sent in the Oracle and was flying around and saw all those Roaches eventually coming along, he knows that that's so much gas investment that there isn't too much for Kane to be able to follow that up with at the moment. There's more Roaches on the way, but +2 and Blink is going to be able to shred up just that Roach alone. This is going to be very, very difficult here, I think, for Kane.
10 gates in total. 10 gates, guys. That's a massive amount.
Yeah, this is going to get really, really dodgy. Very, very dodgy. Unfortunately here for Kane, unless he buckles down and somehow finds a route out of here, this is going to be hard. He's got the Infestation Pit on the way, but if he Chrono Boosts into +2 and Blink, he's Chrono Boosting into +2. That's the most important one because it is a little bit far behind.
He's going to be whopping his Stalkers 10 by 10.
Yeah.
And he's even going to have detection with that Oracle. Starts killing the Crypt Tumors. There is a big army out for Kane, though. He was planning some kind of his own attack. ShoWTimE notices it and pulls back. This is great here for ShoWTimE to have seen this, you know. If you get hit by a big flank on the first attack and you get pushed back, or you start losing a lot of sentries, then you're in trouble. Kane is still setting up for an attack here. ShoWTimE needs to pull back.
Kane needs to delay. He really, really needs to delay at the moment. He is doing a good job of it, sending this army around and making sure he can't walk over the other side of the map. That being said, though, Stalkers in numbers are gathering momentum.
Yeah.
Plus 2 weapons is about to finish up. And this army, just for Kane, can't get anywhere near this. And he keeps killing off unit after unit.
He forced a lot of force fields and he delayed this attack a lot here. Kane, who's only getting, a ton of approaches and links right now, is even going to start +2 in the midst of all this. Right now, Kane has done a fantastic job. This army of ShoWTimE is still looking so scary.
Yeah, just Stalkers with those sentries to buffer and back this up. If he blink controls properly and perfectly here, it's 23 Stalkers against the 34 roaches he has.
Baiting force fields that achieve nothing here. Kane, his execution has been beautiful so far, but he hasn't defended yet.
Well, here comes more force fields. Just keep catching some of these units. Still baiting, as you said.
This is sick.
It's very, very good, very, very powerful.
There is really not that much energy left here on ShoWTimE's army, but Kane cannot attack into it, I think, otherwise he's going to get split.
That's a good concave, though, there for Kane. He's going to try and push forward towards this army. And yeah, he has some force fields left available to him. I think he was a little bit apprehensive about getting them baited out again and again and again, but how many Stalkers do we have? 30 Stalkers against 35 or 39 roaches even, I should say. That's still quite... Oh, whoa, this counterattack. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
No, I think he's faking it. He's going to come back. He's trying to bring ShoWTimE out of position and then surprise him. Kane has played this ridiculously well. And I think he's finally going to go for the fight here from behind.
He's going for the counter. Oh, no, he's going for the counter with the roaches. Kane is really putting a base trade in the hands, but a Void Ray will be able to defend for ages. There's nothing to be able to deal with that. He's throwing down cannons. This push on forward.
There's no recall.
There's no recall at the moment.
79 energy on that mothership core. It's not going to be able to recall anytime soon. ShoWTimE might go for the full-on base trade, whopping his sentries and trying to get cannons back at home here.
But if he's got a Void Ray, as I say, like he's making another Void Ray as well. How are you supposed to clean those up whilst the Stalkers at the back at home?
You're not.
This is going to ensue in madness. ShoWTimE has such a strong army at the front, and he will eventually be able to... He'll lose a lot, of course, back at home, but he will clean it up eventually.
Yeah, I think this is a mistake here for Kane. To be going for this. The Void Rays are just going to wreck him. He doesn't really have any anti-air other than for the Queens that he has back at home. I don't think that he can even eliminate ShoWTimE before he's even going to get eliminated himself. And he might have just goofed here in this game.
Yeah, this is looking bad here for Kane, as ShoWTimE's entire army is ripping apart the economy that we're seeing here from Kane. He does have a little bit more of income, but these Void Rays are the MVPs at the moment of this game. Kane is trying to fight tooth and nail, but I think he knows it's done as well. The Void Rays are going to kill off the rest of his force back there. Army supply 73 against 45. ShoWTimE blinks on forwards into the main. The drones get pulled off the line, try and go for a final defense here. A last hurrah for Kane, but that is pretty much going to do it for his WCS run. He has very little left. GG. ShoWTimE moves on to the round of 4, making it for a German representative there. And what a performance. What a result for a guy that hasn't had that international splash until now. He puts himself on the map here, does ShoWTimE, the round of 4, and he'll be facing off against Hydra next.
Very well conducted series and very impressive last game. Good crisis management here by ShoWTimE.
Very, very well done. Very well done. Kane at the very end, it was, I guess it's a hard choice to decide whether you stick around and deal with that very powerful Stalker.
He was doing so well with baiting the force fields. I don't know why he didn't try to engage or stayed at home. Going for the base trade here was so risky.
Yeah. And, well, that does it for us here in this best of 5 in the round of 8. Let's head over to the stage with Smix and, of course, ShoWTimE.
Ladies and gentlemen, your second semi-finalist, give it up for ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE, congratulations on your first top 4 outside of Germany. This is a massive moment for you in your career.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know what to say. I'm speechless a bit.
Well, despite it being such a huge moment on this huge stage, you play and look so calm. What's really going through your head right now?
Yeah, I just try to do my best, and yeah, I don't know. There's not much pressure on me right now, I think, because I'm already happy what I achieved here. So I just try to play without pressure, and yeah.
Well, I'm sure you're still thirsty to keep going in your WCS run. Your next opponent is going to be your biggest challenge so far in your career. it is going to be Hydra, and he just demolished TLO like he was nothing. How difficult do you think it's going to be going up against him?
I think Hydra is the best opponent here, so it will be very difficult. But I beat him in the past a couple of times, like not in the series, but like only on ladder or best of one. So I know I can do it, but it will be very, very hard.
All right, and last but not least, these guys have been cheering so hard for you. I want to give you this opportunity to say something to all the people here in Poitiers.
Yeah, the crowd is really awesome. I want to thank everyone who's here. It's so nice to see the passion. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, ShoWTimE. Best of luck in your match against Hydra. We're going to head back to the desk with the boys.
Thank you very much, Smix. ShoWTimE is the first German player ever to make it to the top 4 within the World Championship Series. He is the second foreign, non-Korean Protoss to make it to the semi-finals ever as well. Starting to break into the record books here. Guys, this is, thinking it from ShoWTimE's perspective now, months and months of hard work finally paying off. Being a StarCraft pro gamer, it isn't beautiful, it isn't pretty, all those hours slaved away in front of the computer, but it's moments like this that really make it for the pro gamers up there.
Yeah, it's a really big accomplishment for ShoWTimE to be able to come up here, not only representing, the new wave of pro gamers that have been coming up in the European scene, players like ShoWTimE, like Cyril that we saw earlier, players like Marine Lord that we're soon to see. ShoWTimE brings the burden of bringing that German flag up here, being the only Protoss that actually made it to the top 8. He's still the only chance for anyone that wants to see a Protoss champion while there are several Zergs and Terrans remaining. He really had to work for this, and he has to be proud of himself because he's done it in a place where seemingly no one else could.
Yeah, he's played so well throughout that series. Even though he dropped to Matt Rotterdam, he played solid, he was calm, he was composed, he was making minimal mistakes, and most importantly, he was changing it up every single game, which is a key element to be successful as a pro gamer.
Yeah, especially in PvZ, man. If there's one matchup where it's so important to mix up your builds, it's Protoss versus Zerg. Like, I fell in love with this build in game 1 because, I've already went over it, so I'm not going to go over it again. But that still doesn't mean that you should do it 4 or 5 times, because obviously every build in StarCraft 2 has a hard counter or 2. Every single opening he went for in this series was completely different. So much variety makes it so hard for Kane as well to figure out, if I make units right now, can I break him or can I not? And I feel that's exactly why game number 4 got decided the way it did. Kane made a lot of lings and roaches, thought he could break it, but ShoWTimE this time had enough gateways behind this. He just handled it all very well. Great crisis management and so much variety in his play.
Let's talk just a very little bit here about Kane. He went down 2-0, he came back in map number 3, he turned it around a little bit, but was it just that he wasn't good enough on the day there to beat ShoWTimE?
The biggest thing I think it was when he made the comeback and then into game 4, me and Nate noticed this on the camera when it zoomed into his fingers, he was visibly shaking. Even though he's pressing the buttons, you could see him going like that. And we saw that yesterday as well when he got the lead against Bunny. When he went for that big Roach Bane, he got the lead, he knew he was just about to win. He started shaking. So I think there are some nerve issues though with Kane, even if he doesn't show them in the interview.
Would you put this down to, if you look at his career, this is his first loss this season. It's his first loss in WCS overall, being his debut. He was winning, everything's going great, he's playing well, but then when he started to meet his match, he started to crumble. Maybe that's where the pressure kept in, or?
I feel like you're selling ShoWTimE short a little bit. Like, I don't think this was like Kane not playing as good as he has done in the previous rounds. I think this was just ShoWTimE being absolutely awesome in this best of 5 alone and just showing great understanding of the PvZ matchup. And now, if anybody wasn't sold yet on the ShoWTimE hype train that has been going on in Europe for a while, if you watch this series, then you're like, okay, this guy is truly the real deal, He shows us he's so much more than a Protoss that can build 8 gateways with +1 and all in. Like, he can do it all, and that makes him so good in this matchup.
Well, ShoWTimE now goes up against Hydra in our first semi-finals, which will be played a little bit later on today. This is his toughest challenge yet in his career. This is a massive game for him. We'll talk a lot about that a little bit later on. Our next game is a game that is highly anticipated. We all want to watch it. Everyone at home wants to watch this. It is going to be unfortunate for Team Liquid. It is the Team Liquid kill, Snoot versus Bunny. This is a great game.
We talked about how great of a season Team Liquid has had, and I still don't think it's that bad because now they're guaranteed one of their players to make it to the semifinals. They've all put up a really good performance. This matchup in particular looks crazy because you have Snoot, who has a couple of tricks up his sleeve for ZVT. We've seen him bust out the Swarm host every now and again. The map pool favors that style. And then you have Bunny, who, just showed 2 maps of how he can lose to Zerg to Snoot yesterday in his series against Kane.
The highlight of this, though, I think, is that both of these players are contending for the #1 foreigner spot right now. There's a lot of people who argue, is Snoot the best foreigner or is Bunny the best foreigner?
Yeah. And what's really cool about it is that last year the discussion was already ongoing and everybody pretty much agreed that they were the best two non-Koreans. And despite the fact that Bunny had, in my opinion, there was a period more victories over Snoot than the other way around, people still kind of put Snoot above Bunny overall. Despite the fact that Bunny won multiple series in a row against Snoot, but if he does it here in the quarterfinals on this stage, well, then you can make a real serious argument for Bunny for being the guy, that guy.
Cannot wait to see this game. It's going to be an awesome match. Before we head to that, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. In the meantime, let's find out what's your favorite French food.
I want to listen to this because mine was fucking wood.
Baguette Protos.
I want to hear it.
I can't hear you.
My favorite French food is
baguette. That's just production.
I only know baguettes, man. My favorite French food is probably escargot. We used to make it at home in Canada. It probably wasn't prepared correctly or anything like that, but I like the taste of it and I like snails, so.
I'm an American, man. French fries all the way. I've had way too many of those in my life.
What did you say?
French fries, right? French fries.
Freedom fries.